You're tuning in to the Black Hollywood Live Network, featuring news, interviews, and commentary on all things Black Hollywood. Hollywood redefined. From Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies. This is Black Hollywood Live. Athletes. Featuring in-depth interviews with athletes and members of the sports industry. Black Hollywood Live. Hollywood redefined.
You're listening to Black Hollywood Live.
And now, the host for Black Hollywood Live, Athletes.
Today, Thaddeus Massey here on BHL's Athletes. Have a great guest today. Joining me is, and I got to look at this list because this guy is just remarkable, phenomenal, outstanding. And I actually have a personal tie to this gentleman because he's actually an old friend / teammate. But let me just read off a few of the things that he's done. He's a first team all Pac-10, which is the Pac-12 now, but you know, it was still just as big then. Two-time Pac-10 champion, NCAA All-American, CFL All-Star, NFL 3-time Pro Bowler, 2-time NFL All-Pro, AFC champion, NFC champion, and finally, Super Bowl champion Brendon Ayanbadejo is here joining us at BHL Athletes today. How you doing, Brendon?
What's up, man? That's actually a really long list. That's a nice list right there.
You've done a lot of stuff.
You kind of forget about that stuff, though, you know?
Yeah.
As you get older, you kind of just forget. You just remember Super Bowl champion, a couple Pro Bowls, but kind of forget the CFL and all the things we did in college together, winning a couple Pac-10 titles and whatnot.
You know, we were the stuff back then.
We had a good squad, 20 wins in a row, you know?
I mean, you guys got all the way up to number 2 in the country at one point. You guys did really well. Actually, I'd already graduated by then, and you had kind of taken over.
Yeah, but it was still, you know,
on the other side of the camera, on the other side of the field.
You kind of helped groom us and get us to where we went. You know what I'm saying? You can't forget the players that came before that kind of set the tone. You know what I'm saying? Even though you're one class ahead of me, you kind of you started the thing off. So
well, you definitely did your thing, and all I can say is that I'm humbled that you actually came back and decided to hang out and talk with us for a bit, especially because you've done so much since college. I mean, it feels like a lifetime ago. I mean, there's been so much, but actually the time has gone by so fast. It's like, wow, we're just sitting here and just talking about how time flies and how time goes so quickly, and you know, now we're here, all these conference championships and Super Bowl champion, world champion later. It's remarkable. And just to start off from where you began, from your childhood till now, it's like a remarkable journey that you've had, representing everything from LGBT to fitness for kids to now we were just talking about the players uniting in college and unionizing, and there's so many things on the table. You kind of had this platform kind of ingrained in you from childhood, just growing up and being born into a multi-ethnic family. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what that was like? Because sometimes people get caught up in the now, and the foundation is kind of what starts the ignition of what fuels the flame of people who actually end up changing things in the world.
Yeah, you know, it's funny how things always kind of come back to basics, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, of course, growing up, you know, my father's the blackest black you've ever seen. My mom's the whitest white you ever seen. I came out this caramel macchiato color, so thanks to my parents. But just the basics of it is, you know, the civil rights movement.
Right.
And in the early, actually in the mid 60s, in many states, it was illegal for black people and white people for race mixing.
Right.
So there was anti-miscegenation laws, and the races couldn't mix. It was illegal. Luckily for me, I'm a product of the 70s. But yeah, I mean, it kind of just started with that. You know, some days I wasn't black enough, some days I wasn't white enough, and I'd go home and I'd have, you know, both parents were there, and you know, one was one thing and one was the other, but at the end of the day, we're just a family that loved each other. But then you leave the household, you leave your comfort zone, and you know, if I was around black kids, they're like, oh, he ain't black. If I was around white kids, oh, he's not white. You know, you kind of got to figure out what you are on your own. So you know, I just kind of the Mexicans adopted me, you know, so I was getting hella love in the hood, you know what I'm saying? So. But no, all jokes aside, my sister's actually half Mexican, and take a lot of pride in her being Mexican American and whatnot. So, But yeah, so you know, I had a real ethnic family, and it's kind of was the foundation of everything that started, you know, kind of my fight for equal rights for everybody,
Right.
and for everybody being treated equally and having all the same rights across the board. And people kind of get it twisted, like, oh, he must be gay, or maybe he has a gay relative or something like that. No, this is all about equal rights. There's no such thing as gay rights. There's no such thing as black rights. There's no such thing as women's rights.
Right.
There's rights and there's no rights.
Right.
And especially here in America, everybody deserves rights. Worldwide, of course, it's a different story. The story is the same, but the difference is that, you know, LGBT people in other countries, if you go to Africa, you go to the Middle East, they're being killed.
Right.
You know, here they can't get married and things like that. So you know, we got to start here at home and see how far we can take this to reach equality for everybody worldwide.
I mean, it's funny you say that, because just putting it in that perspective on a worldwide scale, you don't really think about how many human rights beyond civil rights, just human rights, are being denied third world countries and other places around the world. And I think that's an important point that you brought up, that we actually need to see that we're actually privileged, and that it's time to take the next step in being the leaders that we are here in America, to go to the forefront and say, look, if we've been setting trends in civil rights and human rights for all these generations, why stop now? We got to keep the trend going.
Yeah, you just look to Sochi, Russia, where, you know, the Winter Olympic Games are next year. And potentially, if you go there and you're wearing, you know, say you have a shirt made up with the Olympic rings and you have the colors of LGBT pride on your shirt, potentially you could be arrested and thrown into jail for 2 weeks.
Wow.
Just for anything LGBT related. It's illegal to have any LGBT propaganda. It's illegal to be gay out there. So it's crazy. It's a whole different world once you leave the United States. But to the credit of the world, also, there are some countries that are more advanced than us and do more than us.
Right.
And then, you know, there's countries on the opposite end, like Russia and some Middle Eastern countries and some African countries that are way worse than us, just barbaric.
Yeah.
So we got to keep pushing it. Everybody looks to the United States to be leaders. So let's be the leaders that people look at us to be, and go out there and just keep changing the world.
I mean, and that's exactly what is the plan. The plan is to move forward in progress. And I think it's awesome that you've been able to form alliances with certain people that have been support for you within your quest for anything that you've done. We're going to go back to the LGBT and the alliances you've made there, but just I want to go back to your foundation as well, because growing up and just dealing with that initial foundation of that spark that triggered, you had somebody who was very, very, very well. I'm speaking for him. Let me not speak for him. To me, this person has been very instrumental in his support, and that's your brother Femi. And obviously, you guys are like about a year apart, right?
Yeah, 18 months.
Yeah, you guys are a year and a half
Irish
apart.
twins almost.
Right,
you know, so.
Right. So you guys are very, very close, and he played ball as well. And you guys have tell us what he meant to you, or how instrumental he was in your support system, going through what you went through growing up and coming up and dealing. I mean, he's going through the same exact thing you are.
Yeah.
He's Nigerian and Irish as well.
Right.
So he's the only person you could really go to, and he's a football player. You guys you guys are damn near twins.
I mean, the crazy thing is he's done everything that I've done.
Right.
Won a Super Bowl, played in the NFL, graduated from college, got a scholarship,
Right.
whatever it is, he did it before me.
Right.
So it's like I always had someone that had a little bit of experience, not a lot, but just a little bit where it was fresh enough to tell you the really close things to avoid, and not like, oh, I remember 20 years ago, maybe you shouldn't do this. Like, no, I did this just last month.
Right.
Look, this is what you need to do. So, I mean, there's so many things he shared with me, but I think the amazing thing about having a brother that close in age and us being as similar as we are is that we just used each other. We competed against each other our whole lives. So like he was my biggest foe and my best friend at the same time.
Right.
So, when we were growing up playing sports in school, I always wanted to have a better report card than him. I always wanted to, win a championship, compared to his team if he was on a team a couple years ahead of me or whatever it was. So we'd always compete, and at the end of the day, it made us so much more advanced than everybody else around us.
Right.
And that's really what that has a lot to do with where I am today. Whether it was, you know, mental or physical, we used each other to compete against each other to make ourselves better than everybody around us. Right. So it's like being at practice every day. When you're at practice, you're practicing with your teammates, and you just have that at practice. Oh, we're going to push each other. We're going to make each other better. For 3 hours of practice, I had it 24/7, 365, every single day of my entire life. Someone to compete against.
That's hard for me to imagine because I'm an only child, so I didn't have.
Yeah, so you didn't have that, Dad.
Right,
So
right.
I mean, even if it's M&Ms, like we're fighting over M&Ms. Who's gonna get more M&Ms? If it's, you know, if it was, you know, chicken nuggets or something, we're fighting over chicken nuggets to see who could eat more, or who's gonna get more. And if we had to run a mile, who could run a mile the fastest? Who could lift the most weights? Who's gonna do better in school? So it was a constant competition. I was just so lucky and blessed. I don't know if I would have been able to do it without having somebody like that to push me competitively in every single way.
Right. When did the shift of competition turn into simply brotherly love? And because you get to the point when you become grown men that it's like it's us against the world. Like, you know, you need that competition as a young man, I believe, and to help push you forward because you're going through adolescence or whatever. But you get to that point when it's, you know, it's like kind of like, you know, when you get to the profession and the business of the sport that you love, now it's more of a support. I need as much support as I can get. And tell us what it was like. How did you and your brother, how did your brother help you and push you? Because you had a pretty tumultuous relationship with professional sports. I should say you start off with the NFL, then onto this from the NFL to the CFL, back to let me see, I have here. Oh yeah, NFL, CFL, back to the NFL, then to NFL Europe, back to the CFL again, and then finally your final stint in the NFL. That was a career likened to the stock market.
Right.
It was like,
it was a lot of ups and downs, but really my brother, he supported me. So every time I had a stint in the NFL, I never made a team, so in essence I never got a paycheck. So I'd make enough money in the NFL to live month to month in those little stints where I was back and forth between NFL, CFL, NFL Europe, CFL, NFL. And really
all that time he was
in the NFL. I was watching him the whole time. He was supporting me. I was living at his house. You know, he was paying all my bills, and that allowed me to continue to train and keep the dream alive. So I didn't make my first NFL team till I was like 26.
Which is, for you guys out there, 26 is
usually
old.
When people retire.
Right. Usually retirement is like a couple years away after that. But you kept the fire alive. You kept driving. And I thought that's very inspirational as well, because if you want to pursue anything and you want to accomplish a dream, you have to keep fighting and keep working for it. And I know, you know, like a normal person, I read a blog of yours on Fox Sports, and you had mentioned that you had gotten a little slump at one point, and you got down, and you had never not been the starting, playing, you know, receiving all kind of honors and awards. And for somebody to come to that kind of, what was the realization for you when you got cut from that first squad? Like, what mind and mental space, emotional space? You said you gained 15 pounds. You're sitting at your brother's house.
Right. It was tough, man, because it's just a humbling and humiliating experience where you just got to take it all in. And really, I was hurting every single day, but I get in that weight room, I get on that football field, I get on the track, and I just take out all my aggressions. I was a young man that was kind of lost. I didn't know anything but football at that point in time. You know, you're talking about, 22, 23 years old, and it's your biggest dream. But then, and you're loving it and giving your all, but it's not loving you back the same way that you love it. Kind of like, it feels like a heartbreak in a sense, And really, I learned that anybody that's ever accomplished anything, they never did it by themselves.
Right.
And, I have my brother, I have my family in my corner. And just, I was just lucky because I seen a lot of my guys, when we went to UCLA, a lot of our guys, they had the dream, but eventually the dream turned into needing a paycheck and having to support a family.
Yeah, real life.
And so luckily I had someone to support me. But really, when I turned, when my brother and I, when our relationship kind of turned the page and we started using each other as support instead of competition all the time, it's a funny story. I was probably,
we want to hear it.
I was probably 16. He was probably 17. And so I was a junior in college, in high school, and he was a freshman in college at 17, believe it or not.
Wow.
So we got into a fight and we started banging through the house like it's like really like a superhero fight. Like he threw me through the drywall like into the other room. Then I picked him up and I knocked him through 2 doors, and all of a sudden there's all these holes. And then we lived in an apartment, so the neighbors called the police. And then the fight went from inside to outside, and it was raining outside. And then we got outside in the mud, and we just we're knocking down trees, and there was a tornado formed, and just all these, natural disasters started happening because, we're 2 big, strong young men just going after it.
And let me tell you guys real quick, not to cut you off, but if you ever see this guy's brother, he's about his size or a little bit bigger. I don't know I never know who's bigger. Every time I see him, it's just like it would be like watching 2 superheroes battling it out. So I don't know who would be able to stop that. You probably have to shoot a rifle into the air or something like that.
But that's exactly what happened. The police showed up. So of course we're fighting outside, and you hear the police, blazing up the street, and they go run in the house. And they're like, "Where are these jokers at?" And we're outside, and then we stopped. Because we kind of just came to our senses, like, dang, we're getting into it so heavy that the police had to come. We didn't have enough sense to just stop on our own.
Right.
And we're both like over 200 pounds, so that's a lot of mass. We're not super huge, but I mean, for
Big
some young
enough.
guys, over 200 pounds is big enough. And we kind of came to our senses, like, oh, and that was our last fight. Like, man, we can't fight anymore. We got to use all this energy to take on the rest of the world, because it's a tough world out there.
Right.
And that kind of just put us over the hump. And ever since then, we never looked back. Always had each other's back. Always took care of each other. And, he helped me get through and make it to the league. And then once his career ended, I had to help him out and do whatever I had to do to help him to make sure he was okay. I did that.
Right.
And we just never looked back from there. We've both been pretty successful since then.
That's dope. That's an awesome story. I mean, on top of that, there's not too many brothers who have got to play with each other through almost every level of their athletic careers. You guys played together in high school. You played together.
Don't forget Little League. We won the city championship too. So
well, see, I don't even have that in my bio. I don't even have that.
That was before the internet.
That was before right. So you guys played together as kids. You won the city championship. You played together in high school.
Yeah.
Did you play together? You played together Did you play together at Cabrillo as well?
No, I missed him at Cabrillo.
You missed him at Cabrillo.
He's 2 school years ahead of me.
Okay, he's 2 school years ahead of you. But then you guys met up again in the NFL.
Yeah, we played together in 2003 with the Dolphins.
Right.
So the first time I made a team and I ran onto the field, guess who was next to me?
Your brother.
I was like, man, this is not real right now. After having been cut from 3 teams, being in the CFL, NFL, Europe, all of that, I'm 26 and I'm running out next to my brother, running down the field. And then we played special teams together, so we go down there, we run down the field and just start banging heads. And
Dude, it doesn't get any better than that.
Yeah, it was fun, man. I'll never forget just at Dolphin Stadium, back in 2003, just the smell of the grass and the sunshine and running out next to my brother, just from growing up, sitting in line waiting for government cheese, in the projects,
right? From
ducking and dodging gangbangers and all the things that we had to go through, as young kids in the hood. And then it was a sweet moment. So thanks for taking me back, though. And I'm gonna have a great day today. So
I think it's important for people to understand the foundation of a person, because there's so many issues that can cloud what makes that person up. So I believe it's important to get that person, people to understand the mind, the heart of an individual. And you definitely are somebody who's shown a lot of heart. Heart is definitely something you need to survive in life. And you've definitely shown that, especially with the ups and downs that your career has taken. It only is natural that you would stand up and fight for other people's rights to pursue their dreams, because everybody's not strong enough to pursue or fight for their dreams on their own, or fight for their own rights.
Yeah.
So it's important to know and understand where those thoughts and where that kind of thinking comes from, because we got to get more people to think like that. Yeah. If we didn't have people like Martin Luther King Jr. or Mahatma Gandhi, who were probably seen as rebels and whatnot at that period, at that time, then they wouldn't have been able to spark the change that we live in today as well. Talking about forging alliances and relationships, you had your brother who's a relative, and some people can say, okay, well, that's his brother, that's expected. You had forged a relationship with a former teammate, Chris Cluey, and you guys actually came together on this human rights advocacy, LGBT rights advocacy, and he's a former Bruin also.
Right. Big ups.
I expected, since I'm a former Bruin myself, I expect Bruins to step up to the plate and take charge and take the lead on certain things, because that's just the kind of cloth that we're cut from. How did you and Chris come together and actually start doing these types of events and speaking out together for LGBT rights?
Yeah, I mean, it really all happened organically. I was playing in Chicago. Chris was playing in Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
And the only time I'd ever talked to Chris was one time when I banged him on special teams and knocked him on his tail. And I was like, damn, Bruin, you had to get in my way. But, I had to do what I had to do. Just kept running. Hester scores a touchdown.
Right.
Never talked to the guy ever again, you know? And all of a sudden, I'm giving out tickets to raise some money for LGBT awareness in the state of Maryland, which was going to have a vote last year in November. To pass marriage equality, the first state to ever do it, and it was a big deal. And they had shot it down the year before, so it's something I'd been working on. And a delegate from Baltimore had wrote a letter to Steve Bisciotti, and he made it a public letter as well, telling me to cease and desist, that he had never heard of athletes talking about equal rights. And back in the day, this is how politics worked. If a politician sent a letter to your job or sent it to you and you got a hold of it and he told you to be quiet, you're going to be quiet, right? But that's not how things work in 2012. And so Chris wrote this infamous letter and talked about Fremunda Stain and all these crazy things. I mean, he's really a genius. And really,
he's a smart guy.
The guy's highly intelligent. But really what the guy want to do is, your job, you were voted in place by the American people, in this democracy that we have. And now you're trying to silence somebody, and that in itself is undemocratic.
Yeah.
So, and it's unconstitutional. So that was a contradiction. So he wrote such a scathing letter to just let him know that, I have the freedom of speech. I can say whatever I want. And not only can I say what I want, I'm going to write you this bold letter, but so can Brendon Ayanbadejo. And Brendon Ayanbadejo is also an athlete. I'm also an athlete. And we're both talking about equality, especially for the LGBT community. So to make a long story short, that's how we came back together. And since then, I mean, we've been trailblazing. We've been in New York together. We've been in where Google headquarters are, maybe San Mateo or somewhere up north in the Bay Area.
San Mateo. I think it's
somewhere in the Bay Area. So we've been in the Bay Area together. We've been in LA. We've been in New York on a couple occasions, doing all kinds of different events together. We're honorary gay together from GQ.
GQ magazine.
Yeah.
What was it?
Honorary gay.
2012. Was it 2012? Was it last year or this year?
Yeah, it was the last time they did it. So it was 2012. 2012. So I couldn't,
That's a huge anything from GQ magazine.
Yeah, but like Shaquille O'Neal gets an honorary PhD.
Right.
Certain guys get knighted, so you'll be like Sir Lancelot or whatever it is. You get an honorary knight, and then GQ gave me the honorary gay. So I get to be honorary gay. I don't get to have an honorary $1 billion or anything like that. But all my teammates really made fun of me for that one.
I bet.
For being on, especially Terrell Suggs,
right.
Sizzle, and man, he just killed me. They had it posted up in the meeting room. Brendon Ayanbadejo's honorary gay. And it's funny though, because the guys that make fun of you the most, they're actually on your side. So he voted for marriage equality in Maryland. So that was the awesome thing. I was very happy when I heard him say that. So I didn't mind, if he was making fun of me.
Right.
Now Matt Burke, one of my teammates, was on the other end of the spectrum.
Right.
He didn't believe in marriage equality, and they had a vote in Minnesota as well. And so that's why he kind of became vocal about it, since he's a Minnesotan or whatever. He never made fun of me, and we always had a respectful conversation, but we're polar opposites.
Right.
So it kind of just gives you an idea of, sometimes people make fun of you, but they're really, they do that because they're on your side. And the people that, you have a respectful conversation with, but we're actually on opposite sides of the spectrum, but could still have, a good talk about the situation.
That's an interesting dynamic. Speaking of GQ magazine, if you guys see this guy dressed, you guys would know that this guy should be covered in GQ magazine himself, because he is a fashion maven. This guy, he's like always dressed to the T.
I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that.
Yeah, he's being modest, but I would actually cover this guy in GQ magazine. The editors, if you guys are out there listening, you guys should cover him and give him his own spread on GQ. Period. Besides the honorary gay, just on fashion and style alone. Your teammates, so it seems like just what you were saying, that some of them were accepting. Did you have any problems on the field or from opposite teammates, or opposite
the opposition
coworkers,
teams?
the opposition?
No, actually,
making comments.
No, actually, I didn't.
Dealing with that.
Nah, And that's I thought that was
for
a
such a
beautiful
quote
thing.
unquote manly sport,
Right.
You would think that you would have, because there's so much trash talking in sports,
Yeah.
especially basketball and football, especially football. There's a lot of trash talking. It's such a physical sport. I think the actual average person would probably just think that, yeah, he's probably going through dealing with a lot, out there. I mean, that's something. So just tell us what it was like, just the kind of response and reaction you got just from.
Yeah, I mean, for such a manly sport that football is, a lot of football players are scared. Scared of gay people, so they're homophobic. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like the elephant being scared of the mouse. So it's kind of ridiculous. But I think more than anything, just the education needs to take place.
Right.
People just need to understand. Look, you're born gay, just like you're born black, just like you're born Asian, whatever ethnicity you are. You're born that way, and just let's be accepting and let's continue and let's move on. That's the simplest way to put it, but that's not what people are taught. And even more than that, we don't have the conversation enough. And so guys continue to make these erroneous comments, and we saw something crazy happen at Ole Miss on Tuesday, where a young man was killed in 1998. And since then, they made a play about his life. It's called the Laramie Project, and it's the story about Matthew Shepard. And it's one of the most reenacted plays in American history, especially to date, in the last 20 years since he passed away. And that really him losing his life, although it was tragic, it's done a lot for legislation and to move things forward in hate crimes and whatnot, so they're punished appropriately.
Right.
So a bunch of athletes at Ole Miss, they had to fulfill some requirements, so they had to go watch the Laramie Project. And it happened just around this time in 1998, where Matthew lost his life. So the athletes went, and obviously, it was about him being abducted, him being beaten, and ultimately tied to a fence and left to die.
Wow.
And so while the play was going on, a lot of the athletes and other students were chiming in and contributing, and actually disrupted the play because of their derogatory language and the things that they were doing. Really? So now it's a national story, and I mean, we see it all the time. And even a politician made some comments equating homosexuality to marrying same-sex marriage to marrying a sibling. So we still see it. It doesn't matter who you are, if you're an athlete, if you're black, white, if you're, you think someone educated, like a politician, like this gentleman just made the comment, just like Mr. Burns made the comment in Baltimore last year in 2012. We keep seeing it over and over again. We see it in professional sports. So more than anything, just in education needs to take place. So you see the language in the NFL, but I was, to my surprise, I didn't hear any comments while I was playing in games over the course of my career, and the only things that I did hear were positive things. So a couple guys were like, "Man, you're a good guy. Keep doing what you're doing. You're doing some good things out there." So it was always encouraging when I heard guys say that. And I only heard it a handful of times. I heard it, of course, a lot off the field. Of course, on the field, we're battling, but there's also a lot of camaraderie and stuff on the field. But I never heard any derogatory language on the field.
Right. Well, that's good to hear, because that helps dispel a lot of beliefs out there, or rumors, or whatever, or whatnot, about a lot of the stance and how football players would handle such a situation. These guys are true professionals, most of them, and the NFL gets kudos from me just because I believe they're underrated a lot based on how they carry themselves a lot of times off of the field. A lot of people have the dumb jock syndrome or mentality. As far as I'm concerned, you need to have the most brains to play football. There's so many strategies involved. You have no idea how intelligent you have to be to actually perform in this sport. It's so mental and academic beyond being able to perform physically. But of course, if you didn't play, you probably wouldn't know that.
Right. I mean, of course, it's a cerebral game. And to play any sport at a professional level, you have to have some type of genius.
Right.
And just like a Picasso and a Mozart, or anyone else that's doing an art, they have some type of genius. Now the rest, I don't know.
Right.
So there, it's some type of savantism that we all have as athletes, and we're just trying to fill the rest of the pie with great things. You have some genius here, now let's build it out. Let's work on financial literacy. Let's work on some sensitivity issues. Let's work on being people, and that's why it was important for me to come here, to take off the face mask, to take off the shoulder pads, and for you guys to be able to see the person.
Right.
And there's a lot of stereotypes that we're held to.
Right.
And if you just looked at me and, if I had my shirt off or something like that, you'd think, oh my God, this guy, he's a brick house. He's built like a brick house and this, that, and the other. But then you wouldn't think like, I love French bulldogs. I love my kids.
Right.
I'm constantly kissing my kids and loving on my kids. And I do my own eyebrows. And, if I got to do my own manzillion wax down there, I got to handle it. You know what I'm saying? So it's just
Manscape. That's what they call it, manscaping.
But see, I just came from South Florida, and there's a big Brazilian population. They call it the Brazilian. I call it the manzillion. You know what I'm saying? Manzillion. But so I just want to take off the armor, take off the layers, and just give people an inside look of who I am. Yeah, I love fashion. There's so many things to me and things about me that come before being a football player. Whether it's family, kids, education, love, healthcare, being a great citizen, and somewhere down the line will be being a football player, but it's not it's not in the top 10. And when you find the guys that are really successful in life and after football's somewhere else down the list.
Right.
And but also at the end of the day, while you're playing, you have to pay homage and respect that this is what's feeding your family as well. So it takes a priority. And it's one of my top priorities when I was playing. Right. But as far as who I am, there's a lot more to Brendon Ayanbadejo than just a football player, as you know already.
Of course, I know this. I want everybody else to know it.
Right, so we're here sharing, man. We're here sharing and caring, so it's all good.
You have a beautiful family, and kids are amazing, wife's amazing, and it's just. How is the support? How do they motivate you? Because I think sometimes kids in a family can motivate you in a way that they don't even know.
Yeah.
So talk about that. Talk about how your family motivates you just to do what you do every day.
I mean, as much as they allow me to do everything that I do, it seems like, man, they're always like shooting me in the foot. So I'll be, I have my son's 2.5, but when he was a little bit younger, I get home, wifey would be watching him all day, of course, like a damn eagle, just making sure he's not breaking things or trying to eat some type of deathly chemical or jump out of the window.
Right.
And then as soon as I get home from work, bam, I get the handoff.
Right.
I'm like, dang, I didn't
even sit down. Can I sit down?
I didn't even sit down, and bam, I get the handoff, and I'm like dead tired, so I get the handoff, but then
Amadeus Prime, by the way. His son's name is Amadeus Prime.
He's a beast.
Yeah, he's a cute kid.
So I get the handoff, but then on the flip side, dinner will be ready, the kids will be bathed, the homework will be done.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like as much as they allow me to do everything that I do, it just gives me a lot of motivation to go out there and just to keep working for them. So I work, now, working with Fox Sports and doing Orange Theory and everything that I'm doing.
Right.
It's like I'm working nonstop and I'm on my phone, and a lot of stuff. The business world has really changed. A lot of stuff now, my cell phone's more powerful than the computer I had in college, so I'm always on my phone and I'm always kind of doing things, and a lot of it's from home.
Right.
And so I'm at home trying to focus and stuff, but luckily, if I have to change a diaper or if I have to watch the baby while wifey goes to the gym or something like that, I get to do it. But they just motivate me because I want them to have everything, because I didn't have anything growing up.
Right.
And I came out pretty damn good, so I'm super duper hard on them, but also I want them to have everything. So, when my daughter got this Barbie house for her birthday, she just turned 8 in August 23rd, she got this Barbie house, and I never had I had some G.I. Joes and stuff, but I didn't, I couldn't be like, okay, I want the biggest, baddest toy in Toys R Us. I probably wasn't going to get it. I might get one G.I. Joe.
Right.
So I wanted to make sure I got that for her, and that thing's all over the house. It's a mess. You walk into the house and you step on Barbie's chair in the middle of the night, just checking on the babies to see if they're okay, and then the thing goes through your foot. So it's like, as much as you want to do everything for them, it's like it always hurts you in the end. But that's kind of
stepping on Barbie toys.
That's what it is right now. But it's all love, though. To see. It's all love, man.
With your big self walking through, stepping on Barbie toys, hurting your feet. That's amazing, man. That's really cool, and it's really good to have a family that helps motivate you and push you in that respect. You mentioned Fox Sports, so you're on Fox Sports now. Fox Sports 1.
Yeah, Fox Sports 1.
So you're in front of the camera, you're doing digital stuff. What all is involved with you now as far as Fox Sports 1 is concerned, Orange Theory? I think it's important to mention that this guy got his degree. He finished school, got his BA in history. So did I. Got my BA in history also.
Right.
So I think it's important to note that the education is important to you. And education is very important, even when you're fighting for the rights of anything or you're standing up for a cause. Because if you're not even educated about it, how can you properly be a weapon or a spokesperson to help stand up for anything? So you finished school, you went to George Washington and got your MBA, correct?
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive. So how far in advance did you know, or when did you start prepping for life after football while you were still playing?
So I started prepping in 2009. And coincidentally, that was also the same year I blew out my knee, but I started prepping before that.
Mm-hmm.
So it was myself, Dominique Foxworth, and Ed Reed, and we're both,
some notable players.
Yeah, we're both like around hitting that 30-year-old thresh mark. I was a little bit older than them, and we're thinking about life after football. So we all were gonna, okay, let's all go to school together and get our MBAs.
Mm-hmm.
And so we went to University of Baltimore to see if we could get into school, and we took some prep tests and stuff. And so I ended up enrolling in school, and a few weeks later I blew out my knee.
Wow.
And so then I could go to school even, I could dedicate even more time while they were playing. So, they had enrolled, and at a later date they were going to go to school and start their MBA. I started mine right after I blew out my knee. It just happened that I did it, I blew out my knee in the end of September sometime. School had just started. I started taking classes.
Right.
And so, I'd been thinking about it for a while. I'm 37 now. So, in football years, that's like Moses.
Yeah, it is.
I was definitely there was only two older players than me on the team, Matt Burke and Ray Lewis.
Okay.
So we were kind of like the three old guys. And so I started in 2009 thinking about life after football, and luckily for me, I retired this year, won the Super Bowl.
Hey, that's the greatest way to go out.
Yeah, go out a champion. But then even bigger than that. But of course, not for me personally. I wanted to win the Super Bowl, but on the grand scale, even bigger than that was, getting marriage equality passed in Maryland, Obama being reelected, and then all of a sudden getting Proposition 8 overturned, getting DOMA overturned, and just, this country just headed towards equality for all. So of course, on the grand scheme of things, that's way bigger than winning a championship.
Of course.
I always, talk about equal rights are so much bigger than sports, because I get a lot of flack on Twitter from, all these sports heads like, oh, you went to the Super Bowl and you talked about equal rights. And, I just do a sign like, equal rights greater than sports, and that's my reply every time.
Right.
So
they've been going to Disneyland for years. What does Disneyland have to do with football?
Right.
So why not talk about equal rights, which is way more important?
Right. So yeah, man. So just I'd been thinking about a lot of things, and everything kind of just came to fruition this year. It was perfect timing. The timing was right. Signed my deal with Fox Sports, finished my MBA, and then bought into a franchise in the Bay Area and in Los Angeles County, Orange Theory Fitness, because I'm a big fitness enthusiast on top of all the other stuff that I do.
Right.
So I'm just excited to be able to bring fitness to the masses to help influence change and equality, and still be able to be around the guys and talk about football, because a lot of guys when they retire, that's the thing they miss most.
Yeah.
And I get to be on set with Fajita, Moss, Howie Long's on set sometimes. Rondé Barber's on set. Brian Urlacher. So we all just get it. We all played against each other, for years, and I played with Brian, and so we just get to chop it up and just have a good time, and then we get to talk about football. It's a lot safer to get paid to talk about football than it is to get paid to play it. So
that's for sure.
I'm living the dream right now, man.
Do you miss it?
When I was watching UCLA last night, I was watching a freshman sensation, Miles Jack, and he had an interception at the end of the game, and he slid. He had a perfect, he would have like a 60, 70-yard touchdown.
Oh, you mean when he ran out of bounds?
Yeah, he ran out of bounds or slid.
He could have taken it for 6.
Could have taken it for 6.
Yeah, he could have.
So that was the first time I had missed football. I watched him all game. We're buddies and whatnot. So I watched him all game, and I send him little text messages and help critique him and whatnot. And just watching him play, the way he flies around, he's having fun, he's making hits, and that's kind of how I played football.
Right.
And so at that point in time, I missed it. I'm like, dang, I kind of missed this a little bit. But, I sit on the couch, hug and kiss the kids.
Right.
I'm here with you guys. I'm not, missing a lot of time, 70, 80 hours a week if we're on a road trip.
Yeah.
So I just, of course, I'm always going to miss some of it, especially the smell of the grass and having your helmet on and putting your hand in the dirt and running down there. because that for me, that's just like anything else. It's a form of expression, and that's when I kind of get to show who I am. But right now I get to do a little bit in fashion and other things, in fitness and in other ways, but nothing will quite ever quench that thirst of playing football.
Right.
But I'm very happy though. Some guys kind of just, once they're done, you kind of see a spiral but yeah, I'm in a great place, so I'm very happy.
That's good. That's good to know. Have you talked to Ray?
I talk to Ray all the time.
How's he doing?
Yeah, so he's working at ESPN, and it's funny because he works on certain nights. He does Monday Night Football, and he's busy on Sunday and Monday and Tuesday traveling and whatnot. So this dude hit me up. I hit him up the other day, and I'm like, oh, what's going on? I need this, I need that. And he's like, I'm working, bro. He sent me one of those texts, I'm working. I'm like, man, I'm working too. I'm working too, just as hard as you are.
I'm busy too.
Yeah, so.
You got a schedule, so do I.
Yeah, so, I mean, we all have different schedules and whatnot, but he hit me up with one of those text messages, and I thought it was real funny because, we worked really closely together over my tenure in Baltimore, and we're still good friends, and we still, do some business and stuff together. But I was just, usually when we're on the same schedule, we're both working,
Right.
And so it was just kind of funny, kind of just a little wake up call for me, like, damn, we ain't playing football no more. We kind of have our own separate lives now, you know. So that was kind of funny.
How? Because you guys have shown that you have had a good relationship while you guys were playing together, and you guys are obviously close, both playing, being linebackers. How what was that relationship like? How influential was he in your tenure at Baltimore? Like, what was that camaraderie like?
So, I mean, we had a great respect for each other. I mean, he's 38, I'm 37, so we kind of had to do a lot of the same things to stay on top of our game.
Right.
So it'd be funny. We'd go do hyperbaric chamber dives together. And if you're not familiar with hyperbarics, so hyperbarics, they found, when divers had the bends and whatnot, they'd have to put them in hyperbarics to get the bubbles out of their blood and whatnot.
Right.
They found that if they had additional injuries, that these injuries were healing while they were diving in these hyperbaric chambers. Of course, the glass ones, and they're highly oxygenated and whatnot. So then we came across a doctor, and we started doing hyperbaric dives together. So it's just kind of awkward. Like, he'd be in one chamber next to me, and I'd be in this chamber, and we're basically 30 feet underwater, but we're laying there in this glass compression, this hyperbaric chamber. And so just some of the funny things that we do, we see some of the same doctors to get our IVs and our rehab and our treatment, always trying to stay on top of our game. So whether it was stem cell stuff, which is like kind of cutting edge medical technology.
That's another thing.
So we did all these things together. So we had our supplement strategies were the same, and of course I had to go out and get everything. I had to set everything up, So I was like the teammate, the secretary, and whatever. But at the end of the day, it paid off. We won another Super Bowl. He went out and won a Super Bowl, the longest streak ever in between Super Bowl wins. He has. Winning in 2000 and then again in 2012. So, and there's the beautiful ring right there. So
yes, that ring is fantabulous. Actually, let me grab this real quick so we can show everybody this beautiful ring. Whoops.
You need to just put it on your hand and just show.
Oh, I don't know if I'll be able to take it off if I do that.
Oh, you'll be able to take it off because it can probably fit around your thumb.
Actually, it does fit around my thumb. This thing is huge. You guys can see this right here. This ring is amazing. Ayanbadejo. That's a lot of letters in that last name, but they're able to put it on there.
They made it fit. The ring's big enough to make it fit, so it's all good.
This is an awesome ring. And, there's very few brother tandems that actually both have won a Super Bowl. And your brother.
For the same team.
The same team with Ray.
Yeah, he won both. I won one with Ray, and he won one with Ray.
That is. Can I get this thing off?
Spit on it.
There we go. Oh, it's coming. Anyway, I'll get it.
I think it's a farce. I think you just wanted it to be stuck on there.
That's a beautiful ring. Your brother, he played and he got his championship back in 2000, which is amazing. That's same team. Have you guys compared your rings?
Oh yeah, I mean I wore his ring many a times.
Right.
Every playoffs for the last 5 years, he'd give me his ring and be like, "This is what you're chasing." And I came up short a couple times.
That's a hell of a motivation.
Yeah, played in 2 AFC championships. Made the playoffs 5 years in a row. But always came up a little bit short last year, and actually in 2011 playoffs, which was 2012, January 2012, when we lost to the Patriots. That one hurt, that one stung, and then we kind of just made a pact. The Ravens, all the players together made a pact that we'll get back there. So last year we did get back to that same exact game in a completely different turnout. It didn't come down to the end of the game. We went and beat their brakes off, which I love. Beating Tom Brady and the Patriots. Anytime we can do that and beat them the way we beat them. Just
you guys got them good.
Just played them physically and mentally in every way, and then went and won the Super Bowl. So my brothers, he let me wear his ring. You know, I have pictures all over my Instagram of both of us wearing our rings, and he was sitting there in the Super Bowl wearing his ring while he was watching me win my ring, and just Lord of the Rings, baby, you know what it is.
It was the brother, the year of the brothers. You got the Harbaughs.
Right.
How what was your relationship like with your coach, and how did the team support him? I know because this is like an unprecedented type of scenario. Yeah. Like, two brothers playing against each other,
right?
In the Super Bowl that are coaches. That I don't think that's ever happened in the history of the NFL before.
Yeah, it's the first time. So Coach Harbaugh, his dad would be around all the time.
Right.
So Jack, dad's name is Jack. Everybody in the family's name is Jay. So there's Jim, John, Janie, Jack, and I can't remember Miss Harbaugh, Coach Harbaugh's mom's name.
Right.
But so Jack would be around all the time. He brought Muhammad Ali to practice one day.
Wow.
And just that was amazing. But he'd be around, and he was in their pedigree is coaching. Their dad was a longtime head coach. So lo and behold, Jim was at Stanford, and when Stanford had a bye or when Stanford season was over, where would Jim be? Jim would be with the Ravens. So we'd have Jim, Jack, and John. All three Harbaughs would be on the field coaching us all. And eventually, they had to put Jim Harbaugh, like they had to restrain him and put him back because anytime there was a challenge, he'd be out there arguing with the refs. So that was in 2010, right? And then 2011, he became the coach of the 49ers, and we played them on Thanksgiving. And this is the kind of the beginning of the Har Bowl, right?
Right.
So we kind of got a taste of it, and we went and they came to us, and we played the Niners, and we beat them. And their parents were getting interviewed, and it was a big deal, and they sat in a box because they didn't want to sit on either side of the field.
Right.
And so we got a taste of it, and then in the Super Bowl we beat them again, right? So
which is sweet,
super sweet. But the truth be told is that Jim is way bigger than John. John's the Ravens coach. Jim's the 49ers coach. So Jim was whooping John's the whole time they were kids, whooping his butt. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Even though he's younger, he's way bigger.
Yeah.
He was whipping his tail the whole time. So this was John's chance to get some revenge,
right.
get some
payback.
back.
Right.
Yeah. So he got it. So it was super cool. And we always cheered for the 49ers. So when we're playing in our championship game, in our AFC championship game, and we lost, then their game was on after our game. This is 2011, and then they lost in a crazy way to the Giants that went on to win the Super Bowl.
Right.
We're all sad because we wanted the 49ers to go. Of course, we wanted to go, and both of us were just one play away from back-to-back Super Bowls playing against each other. So it was pretty crazy. It was an awesome experience, and I've been a fan of the Harbaugh family. Coach Harbaugh, I was actually the first player that he brought to the Ravens. I was the first free agent he signed when he became a head coach. So we always had a special relationship.
Wow, that's really good. And you guys have something that's gonna go on forever and last forever. Yeah. I mean, that's in the record books.
Yeah, forever.
I mean, it was
champions.
A storybook between you and the Harbaughs and Ray. You guys, that's like a storybook, whole Cinderella thing. And what's funny? Even on the opposite side, to help build that. What happened with Jim going to Stanford and doing what he did at Stanford, and then eventually going on? It was like a story just being created.
You couldn't have
written that.
You couldn't have even thought of a better scenario.
If you wrote that for a movie, it would have just seemed fake. It would have been like, really?
Right, yeah.
Like one's doing his thing over here, the other one's doing his thing, and the next thing they come together in the championship game. The older brother finally edges out. Dude, that's like what?
Yeah.
They can write a movie and you would not think that's real.
There probably will be a movie about them.
There has to be a movie.
Yeah, I think so.
There has to be. They should probably do a movie on you and your brother and your experiences.
I mean, that'd be a crazy movie too.
But you're still working on writing your story, especially with everything that you're doing away from football. How has the White House been in relationship and working with you? Because I know you and Chris have done some things and worked with Obama's team, which even though you, just like you said earlier, the Super Bowl is great and you've accomplished your dream, but you've actually you're working towards things that are bigger and more important now with human rights. How has Obama's team responded to the energy and the effort and the work that you've been putting in I know you guys wrote an amicus brief and been working with one of his advisors over there on making some things happen with DOMA and if you could correct me if I'm wrong, with DOMA and Proposition 8 and everything that has to do with those rights. Yeah,
so it's kind of crazy. Just like any ambitious person, once you reach one goal or one dream, you already have the next one lined up, of course, right? So I was chilling at home one day and I got a letter in the mail. And it's like, yeah, you're being requested to come to the White House and have dinner with the Obamas. And, and then, of course, it has like a little check if you're going to show up, if you're not going to show up, and you mail it back.
And this has nothing to do with Super Bowl.
This was after the Super Bowl. This is after the Super Bowl. This is so the great thing that Obama's done that no one's ever been able to do, but of course it's because we're advancing in technology, is Obama is on Twitter. Obama's on Instagram. You know what I'm saying? This is the president of the United States.
Right.
And this is how he gets, grassroots $5 here, $5 there, and it turns into a campaign and he becomes a president. So he utilizes social media and he finds influencers and he finds people that are he takes these influencers and he makes them surrogates. So I'm a surrogate to the White House, you know, and not necessarily to the White House, but kind of to the Democratic Party or to Obama's movement. So I work with the OFA, I work with Obama. There's all kinds of certain things I do as a surrogate to them. So they take people that are social media influencers. And so right now the big issue is the Affordable Care Act. So for healthcare for everybody. So everybody's allowed to just enroll in that in November. And at the end of the day, if everybody has health insurance, then everyone's insurance is going to be cheaper. There's no pre-existing injuries that are taken into account or ailments, which if you have AIDS and you try to get health care, you're not going to get it. Or if you have diabetes or something like that, it's going to be outrageous prices. So they can't take that into account anymore. Women don't have higher rates payments, healthcare payments than insurance payments than men, which they did in the past. So there's no discrimination as well. So there's all these benefits to it. And yeah, there's a minority, small segment of the population where your healthcare might be more expensive, but it's for the greater good of everybody. So I equate that to myself. I pay a hefty tax being in the NFL, but I'd rather pay high taxes and have all these rights and freedoms that everyone should have. And the person that doesn't have as much money as I do, they pay less taxes. That's fine. So we kind of all have to give and bend a little bit. So the beautiful thing, Obama, he's reached out, his team has reached out to me and Chloe, and they asked us to do certain things and they invite us to special dinners. I had to turn them down because I was speaking at UCLA that night. So, I couldn't just, I couldn't reject my alma mater. I was the first keynote speaker for the athletes in the new Poly Pavilion. I couldn't turn that down.
That new Poly Pavilion is really nice too.
Yeah. Whose alarm is going off right now? That's a fine, Thaddeus. You know how we do.
My bad. So it's really good that you got to work with Obama's team. I mean, the healthcare issues with Obamacare or whatever they want to call it is so controversial right now. It's going to be really interesting to see how this all comes out.
Yeah, I didn't read the 4,000 pages of it, but I think at the end of the day, I think it's going to be better just from the things that I have read.
Yeah.
And then it's kind of like you can pay, you can have a higher premium, or you can pay, or you could pay less upfront, if there's a problem. So there's different, they have different scales of you can pay more upfront or you can pay more once you have something happen to you. So you can pay less upfront and then pay more. So there's different ways. I just read California's one, of course, because it'll affect me. But every state has it a little bit differently. But I think at the end of the day, I think it's going to be better. And the idea is to have health care for everybody. That's the idea of it. And we have millions of people right now without health care. And if something happens, the taxpayer ends up paying for it anyways.
Wow.
So,
I mean, what's funny about just talking about healthcare, because it's something I think athletes sometimes take for granted because it's given to us, because they got to keep us healthy and, we're taken care of to a certain degree while we're playing. But, the average person, they deal with insurance and pre-existing conditions, and they deal with so much that goes into to healthcare, and healthcare is actually probably the biggest issue that we should be tackling. Human rights, we shouldn't be talking about human rights. This is just my personal opinion. I'm not supposed to be giving an opinion, but my personal opinion is we should be talking about human rights, but we shouldn't be idealistically, because we should have them. That's something that's a given. You know, you understand?
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, everybody should have human rights. They should have equal rights, and that's just the way that is. Our energy should be on how can we keep everybody healthy, and making sure that it's fair, that everybody can stay healthy and not have to give away their third child in order for them just to go get a shot for a simple cold or whatever it may be.
Yeah, we pay the highest. We spend the most in healthcare out of any country, so it's kind of crazy. If you compare our GDP to another country's GDP and the percentage that we spend on healthcare, it's something like 14 or 15, 16% of our GDP, whereas other countries spend like 7% of theirs.
Wow.
So it's like we spend even more than half of what other countries spend on healthcare, and still, in a lot of instances, our healthcare isn't that great. And then you could look to a country like Canada where everybody has healthcare.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I don't know if that's how we solve this, by just, taxing higher and giving everybody healthcare. I kind of like the idea of, kind of being able to pick and choose what kind of healthcare, what kind of coverage you want. But I think it's like car insurance. Everybody should have it.
Right.
And, everyone has to have it legally to drive.
Right.
So just at the end of the day, if everybody has it, we'll all be paying less. And you take into account, pre-existing conditions and no discrimination. And you can be on your parents' healthcare coverage until you're like 26. It's different than what it is now. So there's some perks and some benefits, but people got to buy into it. And in this country, we have to, work together to advance. We're working against each other to go backwards right now. So you see the government shutting down, our national debt is just crazy. Healthcare people are fighting over it. Yeah. There's wars going on in the world. Should we get in? Should we not get in? Right. I mean, there's so many. The world's not a better place than it was when we were children, and it should be, right?
Yeah,
so definitely. It's kind of scary.
It definitely should be. I think it's fitting that Obama picked you as a surrogate for as far as healthcare is concerned as well. You're so into fitness, and are you giving health tips and health advice? This guy, if you guys don't know that much about Brendon, if you guys know about Brendon, then you already know he's a health nut, and he's a workout like monster. But for people that don't know, are you going to be, since you've invested in Orange Theory, are you going to be showing up and doing personal trainings, or is it more just a business venture? But you're very passionate about this. I mean, I've seen you get involved. It only makes sense that you would have your own fitness gym. It makes sense. And everything that has to do with it, Orange Theory, is completely cool. I want my own T-shirt and shorts and my own fit. I see you have some jackets and stuff, some gear. This watch is going to get thrown out the window. But that's the venture that you're working on right now, along with everything else, and that also gives you a great forum to talk to people and work with them just on an everyday basis. Because people that work out, it's a lifestyle. It's not something that, I think I'm gonna go work out.
It's not
today.
a New Year's resolution.
Yeah, it's not. It's definitely not a New Year's resolution.
Yeah.
So that's something that definitely can people. Are you training at all? Are you training people, working with people?
Yeah. Well, just back to healthcare real quick. I think the most important thing to do is talk about prevention. Once you're doing something, it's already too late.
Right, and that's part of the whole fitness thing, right?
So it only makes sense that if you want to avoid health problems, especially as you get older, you got to work out and you got to eat right.
Right.
So the reason I'm here today is all because of the way I eat, the way I train, the things I put into my body, and just getting after it. And that allowed me to become a professional football player. That allowed me to, have the platform that I have, feed my friends, family, have a voice, everything. It was all basically because of health and fitness.
Right.
And that's really the genesis of everything. So now that I get to give it back to the masses, when, at Orange Theory Fitness, we're looking in the Bay Area. We have a location in San Jose. We have a location in the Marina in San Francisco. And then we're going to be here in LA as well. And our first couple locations in LA will be somewhere in West Hollywood, we'll be in Brentwood, and we'll be in Tarzana, somewhere in the valley. But eventually you'll see 40, 50 Orange Theories all over the Bay Area. You'll see 30, 40 here in LA. They're already in Orange County. You're gonna start seeing them all over. So there's 100 being built right now.
Wow.
We're in the midst of building 5 ourselves.
Okay.
With my group. So I'm gonna do some special days where I'm in there and I'm training. I'm gonna be working out at all of them all the time. But then I'm gonna do some special days, where I'm gonna appeal to the LGBT community, or I'm gonna appeal to some of our best our best customers and invite them, come train with Brendon Ayanbadejo for a day, you know what I'm saying? So we're going to do cool, fun, promotional things, but I'm excited to be getting into to actually be entering into health and fitness as an entrepreneur instead of as a consumer like I've been for all these years, you know? So
it's totally different side.
Yeah, it's a different side of things. So it's actually a more holistic approach, because you talk about customer service and preventing attrition and giving, you know, the customers everything they want and need, being successful and reaching their goals, having them be as healthy as they've ever been, and a side effect is they're going to look better than they've ever been, you know? So there's so many
better than they've ever felt.
and feel better. So there's so many more sides to it, being, you know, on the entrepreneurial side of things, and giving a service than there is being a consumer, and I'm excited for the challenge.
Well, who better to be a spokesperson for anything fitness than yourself? I mean, you look the part, you have the resume, so much success when it comes to Orange Theory Fitness and everything else that you're I mean, goodness, Fox Sports 1, Orange Theory, LGBT rights, healthcare. You're working with the White House. I mean, what doesn't this guy do? What? Do you need an assistant?
Man, I might need one.
Where can people find you if they want to follow you? You have a website, you have social media. Why don't you let everybody know where they can find you?
All my social media is the same as Brendon310, Brendon 310.
Okay. So
you can find me that way. I'm on Facebook. And oftentimes on Facebook I have open forums where I'll just get online and I'll be like, hey, you guys want to chat? I'm gonna be here for an hour. Let's chop it up, and we'll just go at it. We'll talk about every single topic. So Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. That's where you can find me. Yeah.
And all Brendon.
Yeah, Brendon 310.
310.
Yes, sir.
And you have a website, BrendonAyanbadejo.net.
Yeah, that's more for, corporations, like when Visa wants to get in touch with me, or Johnson & Johnson, Procter & Gamble, Harvard University, when I've done some of my appearances and some of my public speaking, they get a hold of me and they can book me through BrendonAyanbadejo.net.
Right.
Yeah, my boy Ryan Taka, hooking it up.
Ryan. Big shouts to Ryan. That website is pretty dope, actually, and has really very good informative information. And if you see this guy on Instagram, you might be able to catch one of his workouts, because they got video on Instagram now. So I've seen a couple of times you posted a couple of things. This dude's a monster still, retired, still going. Like, if a team came to you right now and they said they want you to play, would you sign?
Probably not. Maybe if the Chargers did, maybe the Niners, what I'm saying? Maybe a California team.
Right. Keep it
always
local.
was my dream to play for a California team.
Right.
So instead, I just got to beat them up for the last, 10 years. But but other than that, it'd be tough. With everything I got going on and the way that everything is going at 37 years old, chasing these 23-year-olds, you know how it is, bro.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. But I think, I think you and I need to get in the gym, call up our boy Darren Matthews, get a couple workouts in Santa Monica Stairs.
Yes.
Go do some hiking, in the hills or whatever it is, and let's work on our fitness. You know what I'm saying?
And I know Darren's down too, because
Darren's a workout nut too. So.
Darren's whole wardrobe is all Nike workout, everything.
Yeah.
So anyway, Brendon, thank you for coming by. It was a pleasure.
Much love, my man.
Man, missed you. It's been a minute, and until next time, hopefully we can get you back in here on the next milestone.
Absolutely.
Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, for BHL's Athletes, this is Thaddeus Massey signing out. Peace.
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, Dario Kristen, and the entire BHL staff, we would like to thank you for tuning in to the Black Hollywood Live Network. If you have questions or comments, tweet us at BHL Online or email us at info@blackhollywoodlive.com. For more exclusive content, visit blackhollywoodlive.com. This has been a presentation of the Black Hollywood Live Network. The views expressed here are those of the host only and do not necessarily reflect the views of BHL or its owners or principals. This has been a presentation of the Black Hollywood Live Network.